installment of our wine series, the Amphora, the two sides of wine. I'm here to talk about the Zoom etiquette that you well know now. Kindly mute all the microphones so that we can enjoy the presentation coming up. Any questions you may have, either raise your hand or preferably add to the chat box, where we'll get to your questions as soon as the presentation is done. I now give the mic to our president, Marcos Drakotos. Enjoy. Stiniasas.
Hi, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us. And if you didn't know who that was, that's Alexandra Spiro-Mitsakis, our executive director at the Hellenic-American Chamber of Commerce. And just a quick thank you to her for putting this all together. I love doing these events because they're kind of personal and intimate on Zoom. So towards the end, you'll be able to ask questions, and that's fun. And you get an up and close personal look at the presentation. So to get started, I'd like to, first of all, welcome the Museum of Cycladic Art in Athens. If you haven't been there, it's about time you go, especially once they open up Greece and every Greek American floods Athens and the islands. So we're looking forward to that. I'd like to thank Titina, Eviania, Dionysis, Stamatis at the Cycladic. They do an incredible job, and we really have to be thankful to them for what they do, because honestly, they're preserving our history and our culture, and we can't thank them enough. So please visit the museum, and if you can, also donate to them, because they need help all the time. Today's event is the fourth installment. We started off with Summer Lovers, exploring the island wines, and being from Santorini, you know, I have a special love for Assyrtiko, as Andrea knows. And then we moved on to Mytikas, the Nose of the Gods, where we explored wines from Athens and the Peloponnese. And then we moved on to A Touch of Wine, the Golden Rule, which explored Meteora, Mount Olympus, Nausa. And today's event is very special because we do have the Cycladic Art Museum with us, and we have an incredible archaeologist whose passion, if you didn't have an opportunity to see the first virtual tour of the Cycladic Art Museum of Athens with Metaxia Routsi, it's up on our website. So please, I highly recommend that you log on and you watch it, because it is a truly magnificent tour, and you couldn't have had a better tour guide than Metaxia. We're very fortunate today because we have two women who are so passionate and knowledgeable about what they do. And we will start off with Metaxia, and then we're gonna add in Andrea Englasis from Athenae Wine Importers, who, if you haven't seen any of the three previous wine events, you'll understand, and you'll go back and you'll watch them, because you'll walk away knowing so much after listening to her, and you know, unfortunately wanting to drink a little bit more, which may not be such a bad thing. We also have Michael Madrigal. If you just allow me a moment to tell you a little bit about Michael. In some ways, I just want to brag about Michael a bit. He was named America's Best Blind Palate in 2010. He was a James Beard Award finalist. He was named Bordeaux Ambassador to the US in 2015 through 2018, named Ambassador Wines of Northern Greece, and the list goes on and on. We're going to have everybody's bios up on our website later so you can explore. And Michael and Andrea, the banter back and forth between them is fantastic. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Metaxia to join us and start this wonderful wine event. So sit back, relax, and sip and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Marcos. for these words. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. First of all, I wish you're all healthy and safe. My name is Metaxia Routsi. I'm an archaeologist in Museum of Cycladic Art in Athens, and I'm glad to be here with you. On behalf of the museum, I would like to thank the Hellenic-American Chamber of Commerce, which is a great supporter of Cycladic Museum, and especially the president of Hellenic Chamber, Mr. Markos Drakotos, and of course the executive director, Mrs. Alexandra Mitsakis. Today, I will introduce you to the history of wine, and I will explain how this popular product developed during the millennia. The history of wine can be traced back to the furthest reaches of time. Before Ice Age, the grapevines flourished in the polar zone here, specifically in present-day Iceland and Northern Europe. The glaciers limited its spread and pushed various species of wild vines toward warmer zones. Thus, somewhere between the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, and ancient Mesopotamia, Vitis vinifera was born, the wine-bearing vine, several types of which we cultivate today. Viticulture originated during the agricultural revolution of Neolithic period, around 6,000 or 5,000 BC. And from these areas, the art of viticulture and winery was then passed on to the Phoenicia, Asia Minor, and finally the ancient Aegean world. Now, the oldest samples of wine in Europe came to light in 2014 in a Neolithic settlement close to Kavala in Greece. And here you can see the excavations at that site. There, in a Neolithic house dating back to 4,500 BC, carbonized charred berries of pressed wild grapes were found. These were seeds, actually, that kept their skin, indicating that they had been squeezed to extract juice. But keep in mind that the form wine we know today has nothing to do with what people drank during that era. Most likely, this ancient drink was more similar to today's must, a fleshly, crushed fruit juice. And here you can have an idea. This is a wild vine, native vine. And this spring vine, the plant that we cultivate. Now, to understand the importance of wine for the economies of early Aegean societies, I will simply tell you that wine. This is a linear B clay tablet from the archive of the Mycenaean Palace of Thiva. And here, right here, is the ideogram of wine, and there is a sketch to observe it better. This symbol was unchanged from 1800 BC to 1200 BC, both in linear A and B scripts. Apart from all these discoveries, the existence of numerous vessels and drinking cups traditionally associated with wine consumption proves that wine existed in the Aegean region since the beginning of the 3rd millennium. And on your left, the so-called cupbearer, a male marble figurine, an early Cycladic figurine, dated to 2800 BC. The right arm raises a cup, most likely filled with wine, as if he's saying cheers. And here is a marble cup with a stem, which was probably intended for wine, again from Cyclades 2800 BC. The first grape presses in Greece was discovered in 1950 by Spiridon Marinatos in a Minoan villa on Crete. This grape press dates back to 1580 BC, and as you can see, it is a room with facilities for wine production. The grape press is that clay basin with a spout at its bottom that poured the liquid into another large jar. The grape press is big enough for one person to stand in and crush the grapes by foot. The wine press is called linos, and the large jar here is called hypolinio in Greek. These facilities are confirmed to be grape presses because the later representations on the vessels of classical antiquity, meaning 5th and 4th centuries BC, depict the same presses full of grapes. An example you can see here, where the followers of god Dionysus producing wine with the same kind of grape presses. It seems then that the process remained the same for more than 1,200 years. After this procedure, the wine was stored in large earthenware jars called pithi, typically set partially into the ground. To gain a better fermentation, pithi were sealed with stoppers made of clay and pitch. This procedure sealed the vessel airtight, and the wine it contained could be stored for a longer time. Well, particularly in Minoan Crete, wine was closely connected with religion and ritual offerings. The ritual vessels make clear that symbolic character of wine. In this showcase, we can see the most representative Minoan stone vessels, rita, as we call these conical vessels here, and sacred cups for ritual offerings to their gods, all of them from the palace of Zakros on Crete. However, the rituals participants definitely consumed the rest of the wine after offerings were made. And excavations have confirmed this symbolic use, showing that Minoan banquet halls were purely religious in nature. The participants belonged probably to the social elite and were involved in formal celebrations and rituals, probably with economic, political, and religious context. This is also a representative example here, the camp stool fresco, as we call it, from Knossos Palace. The fresco renders scenes of ceremonial banqueting. Male and female figures seated on folding seats receive sacred cups, most likely filled with wine. Well, things changed with the predominance of Mycenaeans around 1450 BC. Wine consumption started to be more secular, I could say. People gathered to eat and drink and discuss, but this kind of gathering had nothing to do with the classical symposiums of the 5th century. Indeed, during the Mycenaean period, wine became more accessible and was no longer an exclusive privilege of the priesthood, as happened before during the Minoan period. The most valuable information about this is provided by the Homeric epics. Wine, along with oil and bread, was connected to life in general, whether it was consumed in a gold or in a clay cup. Homer also provides the oldest written account of wine transportation by sea. It was like a magic product. The older the wine, the tastier it became. In Iliad, we watch the wines to travel from Limnos to Troy. I have to say that Limnos, Thasos, and Chios had the greatest quality of wines during the whole antiquity. And we know that only wine was exported. On the other hand, the colorless and watery wines became more sour as they aged, so they intended only for local use. During the Bronze Age, I mean the second millennium until 1200 BC, stirrup jars were used to transport liquid products. Stirrup jars, these 4 vessels right here. The stirrup jar is a type of amphora with 2 handles and 2 spouts. spouts. The spout set in the center is fake and somehow restricted the flow of the liquid side, and the liquids were safer during the transportation. Now, I would like to mention something that I believe is very, very important. It seems that the Mycenaeans were the first to mix wine with water in order to drink clean water. You see, in that era, water was not always safe to drink. In many places that Mycenaeans traveled, the water was infected. We know that wine kills the most common bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, and Staphylococcus, which cause poisoning, and also could kill cholera and typhoid germs. Probably the Mycenaeans knew these benefits of wine and mixed it with water to quench their thirst. And here we have a characteristic vessel used for mixing the wine with water during the Mycenaean period around 1370 BC. The cup that Mycenaeans used to drink wine was the kylix. It is a cup with a stem here and two handles. The kylix is the vessel that Homer describes in his epics. In the beginning, the stem, as you can see, almost didn't exist. It is like a base. As the years passed, the stem became taller, probably to make it easier for the drinker to hold the cup longer without affecting the temperature of wine. And I believe that led us to the high stem glasses of wine that we use today. The pointed amphora is a storage vessel widely used for sea transport in antiquity. In Greece, they first produced in the 7th century BC. This example here was produced on Thasos in the 4th century BC. Because of their pointed base, they could easily be stored upright by being embedded in sand. The narrow neck was blocked with clay and resin. The handles were frequently impressed with sealings, indicating the capacity and the origin of amphora. And the word amphora derives from the ancient Greek words ampho, meaning on both sides, and phero, meaning to carry. Well, amphora is something that can be carried on both sides. We do not really need much evidence to accept that Greece had a special connection with wine. Remember ancient Greek mythology. There was even a god of wine, Dionysus. According to the myth, after the union of Dionysus and Ariadne, three sons, Banthis, Staphylos, and Oenopion. They spread viticulture to the world, as well as the practice of mixing wine with water. The scene on this black figure amphora is dominated by the priestly figure of Dionysus. In his left hand, he holds a cantharos, a characteristic Dionysian cup for wine. And amphoras were used for the storage of liquids and solids, such as wine and grain. Now, we are going to talk about the symposiums in detail as they finally formed during the 5th and the 4th centuries BC. The word symposium literally means common drinking. We drink together. These kinds of gatherings flourished from the early 7th century BC and were developed into a very important social institution. People were gathering not only to drink and eat, but to talk about important political and philosophical issues. After the 7th century, a key difference was that people reclined on wooden couches equipped with comfortable cushions. These couches were placed along the walls of andron. Andron was the most spacious and presentable room in the house. Plates with food like fish, dried fruits, and pies, as well as drinking cups, were placed on small tables in front of the couches. And this is a typical kylix depicting a scene of a classical symposium. It seems that ancient Greeks continued the Mycenaean tradition and never drank pure wine, but now the reasons are different. They believed that unmixed wine was an indication of barbarism, and only Dionysus could have this kind of privilege without any ill effects. Indeed, the truth is somewhere in the middle. The banqueters avoided excessive drinking because they did not want to get drunk so quickly. They tried to extend the process of drinking and discussing by mixing the wine with water. The master of the symposium ordered the proportions, supervised the mixing and of wine. The proportions were usually 1 part wine and 3 parts water. The wine was mixed in large vessels like this one here in the middle, called Kratzas, and the final product from this mixing was called krasi. These words derive from the ancient Greek word for mixing, which is krasis, from the verb keranimi, meaning I mix. So the pure wine was called inos, and the mixed wine was called krasi. On the medallion on this kylix, we can see a boy drawing the wine from the crater. Young boys called pedes were in charge of mixing and serving the wine during the symposium. And this is a very impressive vessel. It's termed ICAP kylix because of its characteristic decoration with enormous eyes. The eyes possibly refer to folk beliefs about the evil eye, or simply warned the vessel's user about the loss of consciousness that excessive wine drinking caused. During the symposium, men discussed about political or philosophical issues, while lyre and flute players entertained them. Wine was the divine gift that led these people through euphoria into companionship and fraternity. Do you really think that women could participate in the symposiums? Lucky enough to live today, I say. The symposiums were completely forbidden to women. The only women allowed at these male feasts were courtesans called Athenae. Along with sexual services, they were often educated and provided flattering and skillful conversation. They were musically educated too. For all these reasons, Athenae participated in the symposium's political discussions, and very often they inspired and influenced powerful men, such as Aspasia of Pericles. I believe that you know the story. The opportunity for erotic pleasure offered by Athenae was not considered adultery. They had a different world perception and different ideas regarding ethics. Consider the religious festivals that they have strong sexual indications of fertility, like Dionysia, dedicated to Dionysus, and Thesmophoria, dedicated to goddess Dimitra. And of course, we must not forget the erotic life of Olympian gods, particularly Zeus. He had over 60 lovers, like this, depicting Zeus on the form of a white bull abducting Europa. Symposiums played an important role in ancient Greek society. Participants were not just viewers, they obliged to create that spirit of festivity, which socialized them and calmed their passions. And the key for that process was wine, the divine gift. Wine, along with olive oil and bread, is considered to be an indicator of character, as it offers enjoyment, for many years offered common identity and political prestige. For all these reasons, it was a powerful in the hands of those who controlled its production and distribution. It was entities, an important part of our religious customs, and of course, the fellow traveler in our joy, our love, and our sadness. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be available for any questions and conversation.
Metaxia will be with us until 4:30 today because of the restrictions in Greece. If anyone has any questions, kindly put them in the chat box so that we can get them to her and have them as soon as we can. Marcos?
All right, thank you, Alexandra, and thank you so much, Metaxia. Again, I just want to thank Titina Patera, Eviania, Christodoulakou, Dionysius Sakelarios, Stamatis Manikis, and the entire museum for helping make this event possible. Thank you so much, and we look forward to future events and working together. I would like to now invite Andrea Englasis and Michael Madrigal. We'll also have Nico Kratzas from Oenopos and Sakis Nikolaidis from Anatolikos Vineyards. So please, Andrea, take the stage.
Thank you very much, Marcos. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Metaxia, for that. We're just doing a quick, what am I going to say here? My husband's just putting up the presentation. Just give me 1 second so I can make sure that we're in good shape here. Do you have it up? Oh, yes. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Nope, that's not what he wants to do. Sorry, everybody. So I just wanted to say thank you again very much for everyone who is participating. I don't think this is working properly. Use slideshow. Sorry, just a sec. Okay, there we go. Cool. And that was a really interesting conversation. Now, I think this is going to be a really cool way to bring everything to modern times in terms of, as a culmination to a conversation that started back in the summer about really educating people about Greece and the wines it produces and all of the various techniques that we use for winemaking. And what better way to cap off this series that we started in the middle of lockdown than by bringing it back to the roots of Amphora and of the most natural wines that we could work with. And our two producers that we're going to be discussing today, and they'll be presenting their own wineries and their philosophies. I think it'll be great for you to really understand. They have two very different perceptions of this kind of wine, but the way that they interpret the grapes and what they're doing with them is going to be a fascinating conversation. As you can see here on our first slide, I kind of compared the amphora that both producers are using. So on the left, you'll see Oenopos's amphora that they use, and on the right you have Anatolikos Vineyards amphora. So they're a little different, and they'll explain to you why they chose what they chose, and then we'll be able to go from there. I think it'll be a really cool discussion. Let me just say, of course, you all know this, but I have to just say we might have some people that have not been into our, in our educational seminars before. Greece is part of the EU. We are, it's a very varied country. We're now in the north. Both of the producers that we are going to be talking about are in the northern part of Greece. So it is essentially everything drama all the way over to Xanthi, which is at the by the Turkish border. So we're in the northernmost parts of Greece for today's conversation. We are a mountainous country, as you all know, and the influence of the sea is still something that, even though we're inland and we're north, there's still the influence of the sea. And I've always liked to show this particular slide because, again, sometimes it's very hard for people to conceptualize where we are in the world. And Greece basically lies on the same lines as the southern part of Italy and most of Spain and Portugal. So when you're talking to people about wine, I always like to say, what other countries have wines that are similar? in order to be able to kind of bring everybody together so they don't sometimes feel as alienated as, oh, I don't know enough about Greece, or I'd like to kind of be able to put it into a larger global context. And now this is, I'll start to send this over to Nico Kratzas, but Northern Greece has a very rich winemaking history. It does date back thousands of years. As you saw also from Metaxia's presentation, they have found ancient amphora and wineries and the pips of the grapes in these excavations that have taken place in the north of Greece. And then, of course, as is through the rest of the country, the wine industry went silent during the Ottoman rule. Fast forward through the wars, and this is, again, a rebirth of the modern Greek wine industry that really took place in the 20th century. So even though we're a very ancient and steeped in history, dating, as you saw, thousands and thousands of years, we're really a modern old world wine country, because everything that you see now is really young and energetic and vibrant, and is really the result of maybe the past 20, 30 years is when you've really started to see a lot more invigoration and not invention, but ingenuity in terms of really starting to work with more modern winemaking techniques, even working with amphora, because it's very easy to make very bad amphora wine, as I'm sure some people might have tasted some that might not be drinkable. But here I will assure you that everything we're trying today is delicious, and it's just different. So we'll be talking a little bit about also pairings and why we would want to have certain foods perhaps with these wines as well. And we're going to start in the north, in Drama. I think, is Nico Kratzas on? Nico?
Yes, I'm here, and hi to everybody.
So
Thank
I
you
would like
for
to
having me here.
introduce you to Nikos Kratzas. He is the owner and winemaker for Oenopos. So this is where we are starting today. I'm going to be advancing the slides for him, but just for you to know, we are going to be tasting. I'm going to show you the wines just so you know where we are if you're tasting along with us. We're going to start with the Roditis and the Xenoma Broth. Those will be the two wines that we will be tasting and discussing with Nikos. So let me just put those down, bring this here, and I'm going to hand the floor over to Nico so he can start to discuss the winery, his philosophies, and all the fun stuff. Nico, take it away.
So thank you, Andrea. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I would like to thank also Ms. Routsi for a great presentation. Very, very interesting. If I'm allowed, I would like to add something, because we say that Kratzas became as a blending with water, and Enos was the pure, the Akratos wine. We have to take in consideration what was the wine without water then. You have to take in mind that there was mostly wine that was closer to a Vinsando type of wine, a very concentrated, high sugar, residual sugar wine. So adding water there made it like the wine we have today, a wine that it's the sugar are diluted, so it's less powerful, less concentrated than it was. And why? You may have ever think about wine, why all these years Ms. Routsi pointed that near to Drama we have seeds that has been pressed over 4.5 million years ago. Why all this history about wine? Why it's so important? And we may find wine also in religion. So wine is a miracle. Wine, it's a miracle that happens every year, because you take something from the earth and you produce something that is for people to enjoy. It's for joy. It's not something that you cannot live without. It's something that you have to upgrade a moment. And I believe this is what made wine so popular through the years, because this miracle happens. Man is aware of this miracle for more than 8,000 years now, and it's very important. So let me introduce you to Oenopos. Oenopos Wines. I'm the founder and the winemaker of Oenopos. Actually, Oenopos as a name, it's something that we have borrowed from ancient Greek. It means the one who has the vision of wine, the color of wine. It's a phrase that a word that we have. We can see also. We can meet in Homer, in Iliad. We are based in Drama, and Oenopos Wines is a pretty unique and innovative project in Greece. It's actually based in the diversity we have in the Greek territory of different terroirs, of different mesoclimates in a small distance. So what we do is we are searching for the greatest places, the greatest terroirs, aged vineyards, and uniquely indigenous varieties that we source in our winery in Drama. And there also, with minimal intervention, we are aiming in making authentic wines, honest wines that represent the place and the variety they come from. The most important thing for me is, with all the respect to people that trust us with their choice to our wines, the most important thing for me is to offer to people delicious wines, wines that may add some value to the important moments everyone may have. Because as I told you, wine is not a part of zine, is not something that you cannot live without. It's a part of the zine. It's something that can make our lives slightly better, more beautiful. So, as I said, we are working exclusively with indigenous varieties. So we have Malagousia, Sirtiko, Viviano from Crete, Kidonitsa, a very exciting new variety. We have Roditis that we're going to taste today, Xinomavro from the Reds, Limniona, Mavroudi, Mavrodaphne, and some other less known that we are trying to search better, to find them better, to understand them better. The grapes are sourced from different terroirs, from different regions. We are working with the growers through the year. We have long-term collaborations that we are aiming in producing, in evolving, because evolution is the most important thing in our work, as in every work, I believe. And the whole idea is based on in collaboration. We are blending our know-how with the love and meraki that a grower have for his vineyard. And this is a great blend, a great collaboration when it's based in the values that we want to have. So, Andrea, please, can we?
Sure. Whoop, hold on 1 second. Why did this not work? Just bear with me. Come on. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
No problem.
This is the right slide, right?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Today, we are going to taste two wines that are vinified in Amphora. Amphoras. Amphora, for me, it's a great part of our work. It's something that connects us with our history, with our ancestors. I have a high respect as a man and as a professional to our ancestors, and Amphora actually is the history of wine. It's a funny story. I had someone very known of the wine business in Greece recently in the winery before COVID, and he told me, you have Amphoras, that's a trend. And I replied to him, yes, It's a trend. It's only 5,000 years old. It's not so. So
Trend.
Amphora is something that it's connected directly to the wine. It's the history of the wine. We have the barrel that came after the 15th or 16th century, and Amphora used to be the case for wine till the late 19th century. So that was the idea. Personally, I searched a lot for the Amphora. There are some qualities that we are searching. So our Amphoras are actually tinajas. They are produced in Spain. There is a family, it's a third generation family that we take the Amphoras from, because they have the porosity that we want, and to produce elegant and authentic wine. In the wines that we are going to taste, both they are called raw because the whole approach the wines, actually it's a tribute to the wine as it was made till 60, 70 years ago. We had nothing, no sulfites, no zinc, no yeast, no enzymes, and we use no electricity for the wines. We made everything by hand. The only thing that it's nowadays, it's our know-how. We do know what we should do in each stage, but we don't use any of the arsenal that we have because we live in 2020. And for me, this is important because I would call them authentic wines, honest wines, but I'm very happy that they are wines that people enjoy. And this is the most important because, as Andrea said, Amphora can be something tricky because it's actually a trend. Many people use Amphora as a marketing tool, and this can be dangerous because sometimes if you don't have the right know-how, the wines may be have a little bit oxidative trend, and this could be difficult. I believe the wines that we are going to taste today from Anatolikos and from Oenopos are very beautiful wines, very juicy wines, and I really hope that you will enjoy them. So, shall we proceed? Please.
I'm just going to also bring in Michael Madrigal is going to be joining us to taste as well. So, he I'm sure will have questions, about some of the, the winemaking and some other things too. But so just so you know, if you see him come in, that's where he is. I don't know if Michael, are you unmuted or are you?
No, I'm okay. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Nice to see you.
Hi, Andrea. Good to see you. Hi, Nikos.
Hi, Michael. Great to see you again.
Good to see you too.
I just wanted to jump in on that. I'm going to give it back to Nikos so everybody knows who we all are now. That's going to be, the talking heads for the next little bit.
So, shall we taste?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, we are starting with Routsi. Routsi actually, it's a great variety. Misunderstood, I would say, because usually it has been connected with high charge vineyards and low power wines.
Mm-hmm.
We were happy, we were lucky enough and very happy that we came across a 65 years old vineyard, old Goblet. Goblet means bush vines. In Amideo, one of the coldest areas in Greece, maybe the coldest. I'm from Nevrokopi, which I believe is the coldest. So Amideo is one of the coldest too. And the idea was to see Routsi. We have this parcel, this plot produce 300 kilos, 3 tons per hectare. So it's a very low yielded plot. And my idea was to try and to see these grapes in their natural.
Somebody please mute. I'm hearing bazooka. Someone's having a party. Sorry.
Reggaeton.
There we go.
You may see also in the picture on the slide, one slide before that, what an orange wine means. Actually, this is called orange because it's a white wine produced as we produce red, with the grapes, with the berries to macerate. This wine comes from 28 days of macerations, both having mast in fermentation and grapes and berries. Everything is made by hand. With this steam by hand, it's berry, and it's pressed by hand. We do some pizzazz. It's called pizzazz. You know, you take the berries and mix them with the mast during fermentation. Nothing is added. The fermentation is spontaneous. We control temperature. We have them refrigerated in a room that we have very cool climate. And the aging, it's in a place that it's a very cool climate place, because it's 6 months age on the lease in Amphora. You may have noticed in the previous photos that they are sealed by inox. So
Stainless steel.
Yes, we have exactly. We have they are sealed hermetically, which is very, very important. And after the aging, they are bottled unfiltered and without any refining, to preserve all the character and the relationship with the grape. I don't know if we can taste them.
Yeah, let's say. Yeah,
let's
there's
taste.
a bunch of wines. People are thirsty after all of this chat.
I will be very happy to hear Michael's.
I first want to say, Nikos, you mentioned earlier that the friend of yours came into the cellar and said, "Oh, this is trendy," or whatever. And I mean, that may be true with using Amphora, but I think it's a very, very good trend. I mean, it's something that is allowing the wines to really speak and be soulful, and making Amphora wines is a wonderful thing, in my opinion, versus say a trend that happened 20 or 30 years ago, where everyone was making white wine with stainless steel and lots of sulfur, which was a bad trend, in my opinion. So anything, you can call it a trend, you can call it this, you can call it that, but anything that, helps the wine become more wine-like, to be more delicious and more real, I'm all for, whether it's a trend or not. And that said, these wines, they smell so incredible. And the aromas for the Roditis is really more aromatic than any Roditis I've ever had in any winemaking way. I mean, I've never had Roditis smell like this. And I never thought that Roditis was really an aromatic grape. But in this method, it's quite aromatic. Do you find that using Amphora allows grapes to smell better, to be more expressive than they would be using the traditional methods of winemaking?
Very, very beautiful point, Michael. First of all, I would spot the difference of Roditis in two things that are very important for me. Three things. One, you mentioned it, it's Amphora. Second thing, most important, is the region, Amnideon, cool climate. These grapes are harvested in early October, 10 of October, with an alcohol at the highest 12 points.
Wow.
12%, yeah. And they have this freshness. You have a pH of 3.25, 3.20, 3.30, which for Routsi is considered very low, because Routsi that I tasted was usually, a more, I would say, I don't want to say flat wines, but they were not so expressive or so much of character, of depth. And the third thing is the maceration. Because if you have all these good characteristics and you have them for 28 days with the grapes, it means that all these are very beautiful extractive. And I totally agree with you about amphoras. If I may add, I would say that amphoras for me, it's a great trend in comparison to what we have 15 years ago with all this oak that was masking wines. And you couldn't understand the variety, you couldn't understand the work that has been done in the vineyard, nor in the winery. You had just oak or nutty character. I really like amphoras, but there is a limit, because porosity here is a very crucial indicator, and if you surpass it, go over it, you may have some wines that are a little bit more oxidative. And I'm really in favor of having wines of elegance, having wines that have clear character, and this is why I like amphora. I really like amphora.
And Nikos, is it more expensive for you to make wine in amphora than it was before using stainless steel or oak or whatever?
Very good question again. Yes. And amphora that you said, the amphora that we have in the winery, they are 225 liters to 500 liters. So the cheapest is, it comes to our winery at 700 euros, and more expensive it's 950.
For one. Economies of scale. Yeah.
For one. For inox, I need the half of it.
Right.
Half of the price.
And don't forget, you're only getting, there's no way you can't ramp something like this up. So that's why, you also see that there's only 1,200 bottles that were produced for this vintage, right? Or is it more?
And there is another thing also. I am 17 years now, 16 years actually in the business. I have never seen an inox tank breaking. I have seen an amphora breaking, and I have seen my heart breaking into that.
Yeah, that's got to be, yes. The waste
with the wine,
with
the wine inside.
Oh, that makes me crazy. Let's get on to the, so now, so everybody knows that was raw DT. Just to give you guys, this was before we move into the Xenoma raw. This is the only time, as I've been doing this for quite a number of years, that I ever got 2 labels approved from the federal government that have less than 10 parts per million of sulfites. So if you look at these labels, it doesn't say contain sulfites, because they don't have to. They had to go in for a chemical analysis in order to be able to get that statement removed. So these are as natural as you're going to get in terms of the raw product. So just a random quick aside on that, but then let's go to the Xenoma raw. This fun little gem.
One last thing, if I'm allowed. I don't know, how do you find the wine? It's a gastronomic wine. You see that it's full of taste, and this means that you have a lot of things to get this wine with. It's Michael, I leave it to you. I believe it has a lot of dishes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think my first mind goes to hard cheeses. I want to have it as aperitif, to be honest with you. Cheese and nuts and things just to kind of wet my whistle and aperitif hour. I think it'd be perfect for that. Yeah.
Dry fruit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Truffle. I'm searching for mushrooms with this wine too.
Carlos Aponte said lamb stew.
Oh, this is our newest fan from Puerto Rico, for the record. That's who's joining us right now.
I'm sure they have good lamb in Puerto Rico.
That's actually, Carlos works with our distributor down there, and they just got these wines, as a matter of fact. So that's where he's coming in to start chirping a little bit as well. Just so
you know, Andrea, I
Yes.
have a question. You know, like having these type of wines, you know, now that they're somewhat different to what you were usually selling and importing for decades. Has it become popular for you? Has it gotten you into places that you haven't been before, to sell to accounts that you haven't sold to before, in like Brooklyn, for example? And has it been a good thing for your company to have this style of wine?
Totally. The thing is, everybody always wants this. So you have to play the game of, but you know, and now of course you see again, we're not talking about these are not 10,000 cases. We're lucky to get 100 cases. You know, Nico and I go back and forth all the time. Like, I'm screaming at him for more, but I know we can't get it because of course, you know, we're talking about a very small production. But you know, what I tend to do, especially for the raw line, because it's so small, I don't want to go with that whole allocated, you know, snotty importer thing, but you have to support the winery with either the Aplat or the Enops, the dots lines, and then we bring in the raw. So we have to work it that way because you can't always just have the top. You have to be able to support the whole winery. But yeah, I mean, it's been really an interesting, you know, discussion, because this is where we put wines in areas that never would have thought to drink Greek or try Greek, just because as long as it's a really well-made wine in a specific style, they really don't care where it comes from. You know, we tend to sell a lot more of these wines right now. California eats them up. Like I'm fighting with my West Coast.
How funny.
Oh my God.
Yeah. San Francisco, right? For sure.
Los Angeles. You have no idea. And then we just got into a program in certain select Whole Foods in Florida that are doing natural wine sections. But I'm like, oh God, please don't like take tons of wine, because we don't have tons. So, you know, we're, you know, it's a balancing act, but it's been, it's allowed us to have more relevance with distributors that, you know, especially when they see these plus everything else that, you know, that Nico and of course that Sakis has too, in addition to the other producers, it really adds another dimension, another level to expanding the horizons that we can put wines from Greece into, and it doesn't pigeonhole into a category.
Phenomenal. So these are allocated in-demand wines in the United States. Very much so.
And you know, I fight with people every day. It's like, guys, I know you want just those, but unless you're going to support Nico's other wines, I can't in good faith, you know, take it, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul.
Love it. And Nikos, is it the same for you?
You know, fair.
Is it the same for you, Nikos, in Greece? Is the demand very high for your wines? These styles? Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But I have to admit that, for example, because Routsi, it's a smaller quantity, so it's very carefully distributed. The Xenoma Row that has a little bit higher volumes, I'm happy because this is a wine that had some great distinction, some great ratings, and very beautiful, you know, acceptance by people, not because it's a no intervention wine, but because it's a beautiful wine. And for me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right.
No intervention is a choice. Making beautiful wines, it's a mission. And this is what I said in the beginning, that, okay, I cannot talk about my wines, but I can say, for example, for Sakis wines, I'm a fan of Sakis wines because of Anatolikos. They are beautiful. I am happy that they are low intervention, because this is a challenge for the producer, but I'm happy because they are beautiful. They are tasteful. They are, you know, delicious. And that's the most important thing, because wine, first of all, should be beautiful, should be tasteful, you know, should give you joy. You, for example, Xenoma Row here, it's
so good right now.
2 times 92 in decanter, has been 7th wine in the 50 grade Greek wines last September, with some MW having in the judge. In general, it goes well.
Phenomenal. Fantastic. Should we do the Zino Mavro?
Oh,
Should we
yeah.
move to that?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
this is firing on all cylinders right now. For those that have it, I hope you open these beforehand because whoo, this thing's opened up a lot in the past like hour and a half that I've had it open.
So this wine actually, in the slide that you're seeing, it's a blend. The slide has some details that there are from another Xenomavro that we have. For Xenomavro, we use the oldest vineyards we have. They are from Nausa, Amideon, and Rapsani, the three main PDOs in Greece for Xenomavro. And we have old vineyards of 40 to 85 years old. Amideon and Rapsani are old goblet, old bush vines. As I told you before, everything is by hand. We don't use any electricity for the wine. This wine, the vinification is in amphora, egg-shaped amphoras, and we do everything by hand. We have some. It's called pizzazz. We push the grapes down by hand, as it used to be. After fermentation, these different amphoras are blended, and the wine is left in amphora, in egg-shaped amphora. It's very important that I say egg because the shape is also important, and they are left to age for 6 months. And you will see that you have a very fruity, a very clean wine, very beautiful tannins. Xenomavro actually, it's a variety, if you are not familiar with, it's a variety that it's known for acidity and tannins. But in this wine, you see that the tannins are there, but they are very, velvety, and they are ready
Not aggressive.
to bind with meat or cheese or something, and then you will not feel them.
What's crazy is we're drinking a 2019 for those that have.
Very good.
For being so young, you typically would not be able to drink a 2019 and enjoy it because it would be super aggressive on the palate.
This is like the essence of Zino Mavro,
Yes,
this wine.
It's the pureness.
It's the aromatics are gorgeous. They're like blackberry and like really berryish fruit. And it's got tannins, but it's really melded together. It seems very in possession of itself. There's nothing that sticks out. There's no hard edge. It's really just one. And I find it quite good, quite impressive. It's the first time I've tasted this.
Nico, quick question. I just can't remember. I know because this is a very relatively new project, the Raws. How many vintages do you have? And have you tasted some of the older, your original vintages to see how have they developed? Did we lose Nico? Uh-oh.
I think so.
Okay. We'll chat for now. And then also just...
No, he's here. I see
you.
him.
Where'd you go?
Yeah.
I'm back. I had some connection issues. Yes, these wines are produced since 2006, since our first year. And I have to tell you, we tasted with some friends 2 weeks ago, the 16 rows, and they were so beautiful, so fresh. And I'm very happy for it, I'm very happy for it.
Because it goes to show that it's the high quality fruit that's really bringing it through. So there, and the acid and the tannin, like I could just see this with lamb again, but then even like something fattier like duck, it needs a little oil, things that you can really play against on the food side. It's drinking really well.
Yeah, I like there's like a berry, like red berry, blackberry, kind of mixed together on the palate. The acidity is great. It's fresh. It's mouthwatering, and the tannins are tame, which for Zino Mavro is not something that you can say often. Usually the tannins are so hard that they rip your face off. Yeah, they're really, really dry and they hurt.
Yeah.
They hurt more than any red wine that I know of, more than Nebbiolo, more than, Malbec. The tannins are really serious normally, but this is together. Very, very good. Very good wine.
Super.
Thank
cool.
you so much, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that we're tasting these and we're sold out. We're almost sold out of the vintage. So I'm patiently waiting for Nico
Wow.
to send me that next one. But
And Nikos, the vines that you get, that you source them from, are they do you own the vineyards, or are you buying grapes from people?
We are buying grapes, but
You're buying grapes, yeah.
Yeah. We are doing that in a long-term collaboration. So we actually guide the vineyards, the growers. We are working with them each year. For me, it's very important. The things that you said, for example, tannins. Apart from the work that we do in the winery, need a lot of work in the vineyard. And this is very important.
And Nikos, I have a question about the tannins in the wine. Like extraction, you have to be careful with extraction when you have, a grape like Xinomavro, because if you extract a little too much, you get a very hard and tannic wine. And the fact that, these are in amphora and they don't see oak at all, I'm assuming, which generally the idea for oak for making this type of wine is to soften the tannins a bit. So it must be somewhat challenging to make a wine that isn't so tannic, even though normally it would be very tannic, in an amphora, which I would think would accentuate tannins.
Very beautiful question. You said the right word. Challenging. For me, it's a great challenge. Xinomavro for me is a great challenge, because in Xinomavro, I only see elegance. And this is what I'm aiming for, the elegant side of Xinomavro. Xinomavro is a high acidic, variety. You have a lot of tannins, you have low antioxidants. So you have to work very carefully with the maceration, post and pre-fermentation maceration, in order to make the right polymerization of the tannin. You have the tannins combined. I can tell you that in 2020, we had already 5 uses in our barrels of 2016. In 2020, we tried some Xinomavro in 5 hectoliter oil barrels. And it was amazing. It was amazing because we take the extra, how do you say that?
You have to.
They are mixer. They are enonode. They are blended with the tannins of the barrel without having any oak, to lose the elegance of the nose. So I believe we have more things to show in the future with this wine.
Right. Cool.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Mike, again, General.
Delicious wine, seriously.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Do we have?
And one more question. The fact that I find with especially with your white, the wines are immediate. They're enjoyable immediately. Do you think they will improve? Traditionally, like when you think of wine, wine improves with age. That's kind of the historic dogma. With amphora, do you think wines get better with age? Do you think you need to age wines that are made in amphora, or is it not necessarily? Will there be an improvement? Because it's very generous at the moment, both the red and white.
I believe that the beautiful wine, it's a beautiful wine since day one. Of course, as it ages, becomes better. And this is the more important. And I promise to not reply. I will not reply. I promise that in the next tipping we have for Andrea, I will send you the 2016 Routsi, which is a white. because I don't have a lot of 2016 of Xinomavro, but in Roditis I have 12 bottles, so I can send. I would like to have your opinion. I will send you my email. I would really appreciate to have your opinion of a white wine of 5 years old, no sulfites added, a pH of 325. I would like to have your opinion.
Yeah,
I would
love
impressed.
to know.
We're going to taste that one together, my dear. Don't you worry. That's only going to be in my
Send 'em.
touches.
Andrea, I
Thank
have
you
a
all.
question for Nikos.
Sure.
Nikos, I would like to ask if during this procedure, producing wine, do you use the seeds of the grapes?
Yes and no. It's actually the seed. How you use the seed is very important for the wine. For example,
Yes, I know that. That's why I'm asking, because if you use the seeds and the skin of the grapes, the wine is stronger, probably.
very, very, very beautiful place. Actually, the seeds have have a high charge of tannins, and these tannins are really liberated in the wine when you have alcohol, because the alcohol attacks to the seed. Okay, so we try, for example, in Xinomavro to have less seeds, because the wine may become more strict, maybe more tannic. But in the white, no, we leave them. We leave them. We do nothing.
And also the skin.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.
And just because there is still a lockdown in Greece, Metaxia is going to have to hop off in order to get home, because she's before the curfew. If there are any questions on our first presentation, please pop them into the into the chat box so we can address those as well. Just so everybody's on the same page. That's all, just to make sure. Nico and Saki are both home, so they don't have as much of a problem. And any questions for Nico before we let him go too? He doesn't have to go, but he can hang out. No? I'll just drink them all. It's okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having the opportunity to be present to such a beautiful event.
Thank you, Nico, very much.
Hopefully we may welcome you someday in our winery in Drama. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Nikos.
you, Nico. Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
And so if there's any questions after this, you you always have our Alexandra gives out our email addresses. So please feel free to shoot an email, if you have a question after the fact, if you forgot about it. If you forgot now and it pops in later. So please do that. Thank you, Nico.
And if you want to go back and enjoy that wonderful presentation at any time, it'll be up on our site tomorrow. So, please feel free.
Okay, hold on. I don't know if I'm being my screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to say Kalinichta to Nico and to Metaxia in case I don't see you guys afterwards. Now, I think I see a chat. Let me see before anybody goes. Fascinating. Thank you. Okay, super. Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. I'm getting everybody dizzy. You got to love the stuff.
Shirley McPhillips to
hold on. I have to go back.
Fascinating. Thank you, Metaxia. Thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you so much.
We hope you'll be able to travel and see you during the summer.
Thank you so much.
Please.
Hoping.
Thank you very much for listening in.
Thank you. It was very informative.
Thank you.
Kalinichta. So now we're going to see if Saki is around. Saki Nikolaidis. Paging Saki.
Hello.
There you are. Where are you? Who is it?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thank
So
you for
now we're moving a little further to the north and east of Greece to Avdira, which is in Xanthi. I'll be honest with you, I'd never been to this part of Greece, a lot of, ever until we started working with Saki and his brother. And it's a super cool, very, very interesting, beautiful part of Greece that I know everyone always thinks to go south, but I think north is worth a visit between Nikos and where Sakis is, because there's some beautiful, beautiful scenery and of course wines and other things to see in the north that every time everybody flies south, they're missing out. And I think it's really, put it on your, on a future bucket list, Northern Greek trip to go and check out some other stuff in the north of Greece. So I am going to introduce you to Sakis Nikolaidis. He and his brother are the owners of Anatolikos Vineyards, which Anatolikos means east. And this is in Avdira. That is the prefecture that they are within Xanthi. So I'm going to just move along, and I'm going to allow Sakis to talk about the winery, where they are, all that fun stuff. And then we will be tasting his 3 wines, which are the natural orange, natural red, and the Poliosinos for dessert. So I hand it off to Sakis. Hi, Sakis.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. We are from Avdira. We are the northest organic vineyards near the sea in Greece. All the area, it's rolling hills, and we're about 2 miles from the sea. All the vineyards, it's our vineyards, own vineyards, and we are certified organic from 2005, and from this March we are also vegan certified. We have only Greek varieties: Assyrtiko, Malagousia, Moscato, Mavroudi, and Limio. Mavroudi and Limio, it's the most oldest varieties in Greece. It's 2 red varieties.
I'm just going to show you guys some of the pictures of their vineyards. So if you can see as well, right, Sakis, if I'm correct, in this picture that I'm showing now, that's the sea right below, right? And then there, within the haze, that should be an island over there, right, towards the right?
Thasos Island.
That's Thasos. Okay. Just to give you an idea of where we are in Greece. Okay. Do you want to talk about the soils a bit? Because it's very crazy up there.
It's from granite. It's 35 million years old. And it's an old volcanic near Xanthi. We don't have water. All the vineyards is dry vineyards. And so the yield is very low. We have about 4,000 kilos per hectare. The soil is sandy, and the subsoil is granite.
So what was really wild when I had gone to visit is that there was the ancient volcano, and you could see like the old caldera. So you have that volcanic aspect to the soil, which is it's very interesting that you don't, I didn't know, which I didn't, but I didn't expect there to be a volcano in the north that was extinct. That also let, that the soils as a result of that prehistoric volcanic activity definitely added another layer to the complexity of their soils in the north. And as you saw from this previous picture, this is actually Sakis' brother crushing the soil. It's very, very porous. It just goes flying everywhere. So these are very, very well drained vineyards. And then, oh yeah, you got to talk about the dead man in your amphora at your wine at the museum, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes, we start to work with amphora when we visit the first time the museum in ancient Avdira, and we saw the amphora with a dead man inside.
He was like a mummy?
Excuse me?
He was like a mummy. You saw him wrapped in there, or was he petrified like in?
You can see, and the man inside.
Jesus.
And they explain us
Drinking.
that the amphora, it was very expensive in the ancient year, and when the amphora break, they put inside someone, people who is very rich, the nobleman inside, and they find the gold metal at his hand,
Oh.
and they can understand that belongs in a very rich people. Our amphora, it's from Greece, and they produced in Crete, because the last year it's very trend, the amphora, over all the world. But our amphora, they don't have glass inside, so the wine and they touch the clay amphora. This is very important for us.
Sakis, say that again. So inside the amphora, there's no, it's just clay.
It's just clay.
You have no liner, no glass, no nothing.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can see this at the other picture, because the most amphora, they have glaze inside. So it's exactly the same to put the wine in a tank.
Right.
Yes. It's only for the social media, for the picture.
Right. Sure.
That's why you're making thousands and thousands of cases of amphora wine, and you can't.
It's pure marketing. Yeah, seriously. Wow.
You know, that's a whole other. We can go into a whole other ball of wax.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole. Or if we start that, we're going to be going all night. So we're not going to talk about, you know, like those are the you know, that's the you know, the jazz hands. But we're going to talk about the authentic stuff right now. Continue, Sakis. Thank you.
If you like to make natural wines, you must be the first organic, certified organic, because everybody said, I'm organic, I'm biodynamic, I am vegan, but nobody has the certification. We think this is the most important for us. And if we said something, we must improve this. This is our 4 amphora. We start with 4 amphora. It's open. We never close them. And we have the wine with the grape and with contact skin for 270 days. Start with 4 amphora, and now we have about 60 amphora. It's about 225 liter, but it's handmade, and nobody is the same with other.
Sakis, are the amphora, are they above ground or are they dug into the ground?
No, it's on the ground.
They're on the ground,
above
and
ground.
then they have a pergola over
Up the
them.
ground, yes.
Okay.
It's open. We never close them. You see in the picture, the photo.
Let me go to the next one, right? Oh,
this is the orange wine. It's a blend from 80% Assyrtiko and 20% Malagousia. You can see the amphora. They don't have a glaze inside. It's a raw amphora.
Raw, definitely.
So you know what?
Should we taste?
Yeah, I've got to tell you a really funny story. If you look at this picture, the upper right, I always thought that was like olive oil or something on top, but that's actually the reflection of the rocks. See it? It's kind of weird. So, but you see, so you're using the beeswax as you know, that's your.
The first year we closed with the beeswax, but we have problem. Every 15 days we must cut the beeswax to open to see how it is the wine, and so now it's open and we can see when we want it.
Cool. All righty, so we are moving on to those who are tasting with us. Oops, there's my camera. There we go. The natural orange.
This is a fun wine. You know, this is really, really delicious. I have to say, it's nice to have, you know, the Routsis that we had and then this in comparison. because when you think about it, they're both made in amphora, but there's a very different comparison between the two.
Yep.
And I think, first of all, the Routsi spent the skins 28 days. And with this wine, it's 270.
With the skin and with the seed.
And with the seed. So
Everything.
All
yeah,
the skin and all the
there's an
seed.
intensity. This wine is intense and very delicious too. And there's something, you know, like I'm reminded, Andrea, of like kombucha when I have this wine.
Yeah.
It's like healthy when I drink it. It makes me feel like I'm going to be able to work out really, really well after I drink this wine. It's like good for fitness, for health.
It is, right? You know, it's got the acid. It's going to pick you up and give you energy.
Yeah.
It's the Red Bull. It's going to give you wings.
Yeah, seriously. It seems so like good for me when I taste it.
Yeah. No, and you know, I think it's also really fun to try the raw DTs next to the orange because it's even, you know, they're both amphora wines, but they're still the interpretation for the grapes. Even though they're parallel, they're just so different. And that's also why it's kind of fun to taste. Like Routsi, as we've all said, it's a grape that for many people, even for me, you know, in the old days was a grape that, you know, it made wine that was just okay. It was like a coiffer, you know, you would just kind of knock it back and be okay with it. Assyrtiko has always taken that other, you know, like it's like La Grande Dame of Greece, but on the flip side, everyone always just, again, their mind only goes to Santorini and they only think of that. But now look at where we are in the complete northern part of the country. And we're on, you know, even though there's a volcanicness to the soil that's really, really sandy, it has that natural acidity that's elevating this to the next level. That, you know, the Malaguzia here for me is just a little bit on the aromatics, but this is a wine that, because it's been pretty much oxidized for 270 days, is a fantastic thing to keep. You can keep this thing open. You can't kill it. I mean,
I
bottles
believe
that we had open
that.
for like a week to go work with just for the hell of it, just trying them every day. So it's something that you can totally have. You don't have to just drink it all in one shot. And it's you know, when we first brought this in, people at first were like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" You know, very different. But it's really unique in that respect, and that you can see the color and how, you know, it is a natural product. There is no fining, there is no filtration, just like the raw DTs. You know, but it's just a different, you know, they're just two different interpretations of making wines in amphora.
And then after 2 days, 3 days, it's completely better. You can enjoy it. You don't have problem with the wine.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this. I think it's just clean in a way that natural wine isn't usually, you know, and it's also you find oftentimes with somewhat orange natural wine that there's some residual sugar, maybe almost too much, but this is, I don't think there's that much, you know, it still has like a dry bite that makes it very food friendly.
Yes.
This actually, we had done this when Saki first came to the US, 2019 or 2018, I can't remember the year. We were up in San Francisco, and there was a wine lunch that was done to present his wines, and a buyer bought, let's see, this might be Kimberly, she knows exactly what this was all about. This was, it was a restaurant that had, you know, focused on Asian cuisine, and they paired this with Peking duck on their wine. Yeah, Peking duck. Nico, thank you very much. He just had to leave, so thank you very much, and now we'll continue.
Thank him too, yes, for the
yeah. So yeah, Peking duck with this. Go figure. But the oiliness of the duck is like, it needs the fat and the acid. You need that like umami thing in order to get it to work together. So yeah, this is the 2018, right? If I'm correct, we're all drinking here. Yeah,
2018. Yeah.
And this ages, and this will age. So I mean, we just moved into this vintage. I don't think we don't have 2019 yet. So I think we have some wine still to go through. So we're good.
And Sakis, do you find that there's some sort of effervescence, some fizz to this wine?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that intentional, or is that just a byproduct of fermentation in a amphora?
I think it's from the fermentation.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't
It's
have
not
to-
intentional.
Yeah.
Every year it's completely different.
Right. Do you find that as a positive for the wine? That slight fizz, that slight effervescence? Do you enjoy that?
Yes, I enjoy.
Yeah.
For me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what, Michael, it was a weird thing because 17, because as to Saki's point, where 17 was a totally different beast than this. The color was different, but actually that slight effervescence of the frizzante on the 18, I think actually helps it, because it was, I tasted it, and that it started like, not when we first got it. It was not that it's re-fermenting in the bottle, but maybe one of the first batch we had didn't have it. And this was a wine that was like hitting you in the head with acid. It was super aggressive. And that little bit of an effervescence in the second batch that we got actually enlivened it up and made it more approachable, because otherwise you were like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like, the acid was coming out of ripping the enamel off your teeth. So it actually was a good thing that it happened.
Whatever it is, I like it. I think it makes it very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And the 2019 is completely different.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
This is the natural wine. Every
Right.
year it's completely different. Isn't the same wine copy paste every year?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why, you never, and that's why it was 20. How was the vintage in 2019, Saki? Was it a good vintage? Was it cool? Was it warm?
It's very good vintage.
Okay.
And exactly the 2020 vintage, I think it's more better for us.
Cool. All right. Any questions on the natural orange? I know this might not be for everyone's cup of tea, because a lot of people are not used to these styles. These are not.
I don't like these wines mostly. The orange wine category, but I like these.
Yeah.
I like both of them, honestly.
I
think they're better than what else is out there from other countries. And I say that with honesty. I think they're really good in the category.
Yeah. These are wines that, you can drink them by themselves, but they really need food, because it's just, for me at least, I'm going to hope, bring these home and try to have them, try to keep them as much as I can throughout the week and let them open and evolve. Now let's move on to Mavrudi, to the natural. What's going on here? Hold on, this lovely thing. There we go. We're gonna go. This is an interesting blend, and Mavrudi is a grape variety that Saki will talk more about. That even Nico alluded to. It's a grape variety that is starting to become a little bit more relevant in red Greek wine world because of it's indigenous really to Bulgaria. It's the Bulgarian Mavrud. They're the same, or are they cousins? Are these the same grapes, Saki?
It's exactly the same.
Okay. So if you haven't had Bulgarian Mavrud, in Greece it's Mavrudi. So now Saki will talk about the two grapes and the whole backstory behind these.
Mavrudi, it's from Mavro. Mavro means black, because this is very dark variety. Limno, it's from the North Greece also. This is one from the oldest Greek varieties, and you can find in Greece. It's a very dark variety, it's Mavrudi. Limno, it's more elegant variety. We make green harvest in Mavrudi, because if you leave it, you can take a lot of grapes per hectare. But,
The Lignon we're talking about, right?
For Mavrudi.
The Mavrudi, okay.
We have a low yield, about 4,000 kilos per hectare. We make exactly the same with the orange. A long fermentation in clay amphora for 270 days with contact skin and with all the seeds inside. It's unfiltered. It's a high alcohol. The alcohol, I think it's about 15.
Is it 15 on this one? Let me see. This is the 2017. Unless you didn't put the right label on, it's 14%.
It's about 15.
Okay, I didn't hear that. You didn't put the wrong label on, mister.
No, we have problem with the law.
The things you learn at our presentations.
It's here now. Possession's 9/10 of the law, Alexandra. There's nothing you can do. I think it's going to get done now.
I'll erase it.
But you know, this is an interesting for those who maybe have never had these grapes. You know, we've tried Xinomavro, and you know, in our previous presentations, we've tried other indigenous red grapes that were a little bit more, you know, the primary red fruit notes here. The Limno, as Saki was saying, gives you that elegance. It's got that purple for me, but the Mavrudi, for me, is that bacon and spice and tobacco. It's like the, you know, it's like the big shoulders on of the blend, where then the Limno comes in and it rounds it out and it makes it a little bit more, you know, pretty. It's like putting the mascara on at the end of the day. And it's something that also you need food. Like this is definitely a beast that needs the lamb, it needs the steak, it needs the fattier cuts of meat. And you should be decanting this. If you were going to be drinking this, you know, immediately, I would say you'd want to like have it open and let it breathe. If you don't, you know, decide not to drink all of it today, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to practice the art of restraint on all of these wines, because the Amphora, even though they've given them some oxidation, it's actually, they need more time, because again, the blessing to the curse for what we do is we blow through our vintages too quickly. There's just physically no way we can, you know, handle it otherwise. So these probably, if in a perfect world, if these wines existed and they were a little older, they would be an even better, you know, they would be like singing at the top of the roof. But, you know, definitely go back and try this later. If you just opened this before we started the presentation today, you're going to want to let this one open up, because as I'm swirling it, I'm getting different things. So Michael could probably, you know, let me, tell me if I'm right on it, or if you think if I missed something.
No, you got it. I'm sorry, did I miss the vinification, how this is made? How is this made exactly?
Same way as a natural orange.
Exactly the same.
Wow.
Same exact
Wow.
no fermentation, grapes together into the Amphora, push and hang out. That's it.
How long is it in the Amphora, Sakis?
270 days.
Same as the white?
Yes, exactly the same.
Wow.
With contact skin seeds.
The nose, it's funny. There's something that reminds me of like reduction on the nose, but that really couldn't be possible with Amphora, especially if the top is off. So it's...
You know what? It could be, and I've actually tasted it on the whites, especially his Assyrtiko. It's the soil.
Maybe, okay.
I have to taste you on, when we get together, when we taste Nikos 16 Roditis, I have to taste you on his, if I have a bottle of the 17 Assyrtiko, blind taste that, you would think you were down in Santorini.
Wow.
It blows you. It's like, what? Where am I? You have no idea. So yeah.
I will say this. I love the palate. I mean, the fruit flavor is great, but the palate is nice and put together. It's very velvety.
Yeah.
Very, very velvety, you know, and the tannins are really kind of creamy and smooth. And for a young wine, especially with the grapes you're using, that's not common. So I could only assume that this is coming from the quality of the grapes, and as well, the way it's fermented in the Amphora. So it's very drinkable at this moment for that reason, I'd say.
When do you harvest these grapes, Saki? Is it October?
The last of September.
The last of September. Okay. And how was the vintage in 2017? Was it cooler or was it warmer?
It's a cooler.
It was cooler. Oof, okay. Any questions from our peeps before we move on to the dessert wine, which is just gold in a bottle for those that have it, because it's delicious. Questions? No. All right, Saki, we're moving.
Okay.
The Poliosinos.
This is the Poliosinos. The grapes is under the sun for 15 to 17 days. So they evaporate the water. And then the fermentation is a very long fermentation in amphora for 100 until 120 days.
Is
And
it the
then-
same amphora that you use for the poliosinos, that you, the
Yes.
same exact ones as the, okay, as the white and the red, okay.
It's 50% Mavroudi, 40% Assyrtiko, and 10% Muscat. Mavroudi, it's a red variety, and the other two, it's white varieties. And for this, and the color is Grenat, because it's a blend from white and red varieties. And then we have in oak barrel for 48 months.
Oh my God, it is this. So actually, before we came on air, Alexandra was telling me how this brought her back to years ago when she was on Santorini and she had tried, it was Vinsanto. But this is, you know, this is the way that this is the sun drying of the grapes that gives you those little raisins. You know, it's not that this is Vinsanto, or I'm not trying to say that at all, but you know, the sun drying, the raisinating of the grapes gives you this unique flavor profile, depending where, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, but that's if you get that, that's because these grapes have been sun dried, and these are fully sun dried grapes. There's no shade, because sometimes, you know, in certain parts of the world, when they say they're, you know, they might shade dry them in order to slow down the evaporation process. But Saki, I'm correct, right? These are completely in the sun. There is no shade, nothing.
The beauty of the wine that I wanted to mention was not that it tasted like Vinsanto. It tasted like it was totally, I don't know how you would say it, but organic. It's totally, I felt as if it was something without anything in it, that because I'm very, very, I can't drink anything that has, that is not, how can you say, I don't know it in the wine terms, but what I can say after drinking this, bravo.
Yeah, it's super special. Now, for those that have it, of course, you know, if I can show you this, there is chunks here in the bottom.
Yeah.
Because this thing came straight out of the amphora, you know, and did all of its stuff. There's no filtration,
Natural.
no fining. So if you have this bottle and you see the things at the bottom, it's supposed to be there. So you know. I'm waiting for Michael's opinion on this one. You haven't tasted
I'll tell
this
you,
one before,
it's the first thing. No, it's, you know, you taste wine all the time. You taste sweet wines all the time, and there's a lot of homogeneousness to it, blah, blah, blah. But there's something unique in this. And the first thing I get when I smell this is like coconut. I get like this sort of tropical, sweet coconut aroma that I love.
Or something, yeah, it's fun.
Fig, plum.
Yeah, but tropical, like really nutty and sweet and dried.
This one's dangerous. I gotta not have any more of that one tonight, otherwise I'll have problems.
And for me, the most important thing of sweet wine is to have good acidity.
Yes.
Because I mean, if you don't have good acidity with sweet wine, you might as well just be eating, you know, like chocolate syrup. It's just too sweet. It's not enjoyable. So when for me, the mark of a good sweet wine is high acidity, and the acidity is here. Thank goodness, you know, to carry all these rich and sweet flavors. And, you know, my mouth waters after I drink this, which is very uncommon for sweet wines in general. So bravo, Sakis, very good.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah.
And the residual sugar is 220 grams per liter.
Yeah, that's a lot of sugar. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll go back to this. So do we have
You can
any?
enjoy with spicy cheese, with foie gras, with dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Oof.
or
That's
with
just
the syrup.
And
That's
you know,
got-
if you have this wine, if you were able to purchase this, you can keep this open as well for a while, right, Saki? I mean, this bottle can stay open for, as long as you keep the cork in and you keep it in a cool spot, it'll hold for a while. It's not going to fall apart on you.
I'm going to speak generally here, but as a sommelier that's tasted a lot of wines, and there's always these things that you're supposed to accept as the law. Like you're supposed to accept that the greatest sweet wine in the world is Sauterne or Port. And, once you do a lot of tasting and sort of making decisions for yourself, you realize that those wines, like I mentioned earlier, are just so sweet. There's not a lot of acidity to those wines. And you tend to sort of say to yourself, if these are the greatest sweet wines in the world, then there's no good sweet wines in the world, until you really do research for yourself. And I have found that my favorite sweet wines, believe it or not, are from Greece. I love Vinsanto. I think the Vinsanto from Greece, there's nothing like it, and I put this on that same level. Mm-hmm. And the other wines that I really like that are sweet are Madeira, from the island in Portugal. And it really comes down to the acidity, because anybody can make anything sweet, but to make it balance with acidity, to carry the sweetness, is the most important and probably the hardest thing to do when you're making these type of wines. And it's hard because it's the place that they're growing, the soil, the elevation, and maybe you don't have it. Maybe the grapes can't retain acidity while keeping all the sweetness. And that's why a place, a country like Greece is blessed to be able to produce grapes that can carry sweetness and still retain acidity. And that for me is like my own discovery, that these are where the great sweet wines are coming from in the world.
And you would never have thought, in the middle of the northeast corner of Greece, at equidistant from Bulgaria and Turkey, here we go. We have another really, a little gem that we're fortunate to taste and to enjoy, which, this is, I think, actually, Michael, now that you've done all of these with me, I mean, you've seen, we've really run the gamut of, the entire country, but I think it's the whole thing that for me, everything is about the acidity that's always kept everything in check. And I
that's
think
what makes Greece stand out.
Most unique thing that really, if we're going to say that there's one uniting factor for all of Greece, it's the acidity levels and everything, for the most part.
Absolutely. Because acidity is the salt for wine. It's like the salt, like when you think of food, you eat food without salt, it's not very interesting. The acidity is the salt, and Greece has they have the market cornered with having high acidity. And that's what makes, it's the truth. And that's why these wines are great. And it takes a while for people to really understand that, because maybe they're not willing to put in the work, or they aren't curious enough. But if you are curious and you want to find great wines in the world that people aren't really recognizing as great, Greece should be square one for you.
Yeah, it's been this year too. I think now that hopefully with things that are starting to reopen, we're seeing an explosion of interest in everything out of Greece, which has been great. And all of a sudden we've gone from sitting on our butts to running around now, trying to get everything reopened and starting again. But it's been really, it's a fun time right now, because I think finally people are starting to give a lot more credence to the country. And there's some serious wines out there that people are really starting to finally get their heads around and work with and be open to working with, which I think has been the biggest hurdle for the longest time.
Right. And the fact that you have all these incredible indigenous grapes, Greece is in a very strong position to really to create their own path.
Yep.
And what they want to be in the world of wine.
And, so for you all, just everybody's, reference again, what we tasted today, these are specific. These are not the only wines that both wineries make. This is part and parcel to what they do as well, because again, even though we don't have, these are not in mass production. So, you will find these as well. And, to Michael, probably you're asking the same thing. What goes on with Sakis wines on the natural side? These on the price point side tend to be on our higher ones, but they produce Anasirtiko, Malaguzia, Limno, Mavrudi that are all, and I'm not saying conventional, but they're more, there's more wine. They're more traditionally produced. So we have a lot more from both producers that are available. And that way you can try the gamut. I mean, these wines might not be for everyone. And we know that. So that's why we straddle, the universe. We keep our toes dipped in many ponds. So if you're interested, you got to seek out both of the producers' other lines that they make as well. Do we have any questions from the peanut gallery before we wrap it up? Because it is midnight. I joke with Saki. He actually calls me at this hour on weekdays because he's still awake. But I know it's a Saturday and I don't want to keep anybody too long. And I thank everyone that stayed with us for these 2 hours. I hope that you thought that this was a really interesting presentation and culmination to our 4-part series of a tour of Greece. How we went from, today was really cool because you got to see what happened in antiquity, and then 2 very different but similar producers' visions for Amphora. And it's kind of fun that you see them all the way in the north, as opposed to being in, other parts of Greece, which I think is just really, really rad. Do we have any questions before we head out? Or if there's any, Michael, do you have anything else you want to ask Saki or anything else or anybody?
No, I mean, I'm just going to keep continuing to tell, I'm assuming mostly everyone is Greek on this at this event, but be proud of your country and the wine they're producing, because they're unique and they're like no other place. And the more that the growers do things like this, make wines in Amphora, do things that are somewhat different, but really focus on the quality of the grapes that they're growing and using their own indigenous grapes, it will only get better for the reputation of the wines for the country. So I think it's a really good time to be interested in this.
Thank you. Thank you for jumping on, Michael. And hope you enjoyed everything. I'll let you know when we get those older vintages. We'll have to meet up between Philly and New York at some point and have a good chuckle and taste some stuff.
Hello?
For sure.
Hello?
Who's that?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Yasu?
Yosine.
This is Joel. This is Joel.
Hi, Joel.
I'm a participant. And hi, I just wanted to correct the last speaker. I am not Greek, but I love Greece. My wife and I have been there. We love Greek wines, and I really enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Please feel free to spread the word of Greek wine to everyone. Scream it from the rooftops.
I live in Maine, so there aren't too many rooftops, and there aren't too many people, but
Go to
I'll
the
do what I can.
mountaintops while you're at it. Go find the moose and the bears. So do we have any other questions for Saki before we let him go to bed? Because it is midnight.
Yes. Wait
Sure.
a minute.
Who do we have?
Can you hear? I'm Eva from Thessaloniki, Greece. Can you hear me?
Makanelis.
Hi, how are you? I'm just concerned. Can I get a call? I mean, I got this very late in my email. I did send it to about 35 friends in the States. At least 2 I saw were there. But can we get a copy of this? Has this been recorded? Can I share this with other people now?
This will be up on our site, Ms. Canelis, later this evening. So on Hellenic-American.cc, I'll add the link to the chat box for anybody interested in seeing
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. I do want to share. I have a lot of friends
from our wine series. They're all up on there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for.
I loved it.
Thank you.
And I'm sitting here drinking different Greek wines, but I'm certainly enjoying sharing those with you.
Yeah, definitely. These are just for our friends here in the U.S., but of course, even I'm not going to speak about you know, how the availability is in Greece, but obviously, because that's,
Yeah,
you guys can
yeah.
get those, you know, between Nico and Saki, you can always reach out to the wineries.
Yeah,
Here in the US, because these wines are small production, they're not,
they're
obviously,
hard, yeah.
we physically don't have enough wine for everywhere. You will find them, New York, you'll get them, you know, in pockets on the East Coast, down in Florida, in California. They're also in the Midwest, in Chicago as well. And now Puerto Rico, I don't know if Carlos is still on or not, but he's there too. Yeah, we even send them to Puerto Rico. I'm waiting for my winter work trip to go there. You know me, come January, I'm gonna fly south. So these are wines that, you know, need a little bit of seeking out. Just to give you guys an idea of price points for those that weren't able to purchase the wines. The raw wines from Oenopos tend to retail around the $31 a bottle. Sakis wines, the Anatolikos, are at around $53 a bottle. So you just, you have an idea of the price points that where we're at today.
Where are they in Florida? Do you know? Can you say that?
You know what? That it depends where you are. But if you, in the beginning, I was saying that actually in certain Whole Foods now they're doing a natural wine section, and some of these are going to be showing up in that natural wine section as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You know what, online, do you know what online shops sell, which online shops?
That is going to be tricky, and I would probably not, you'd have to be really careful if you're going to try to purchase these online. Again, because the states are, you know, very, every state's different with their, you know, with their shipping laws. But because all of these wines are, I don't want to use the word natural as in like, because the sulfites are, there's no added sulfites, these are very much, you know, in a very raw form. You would need to be very, very careful where you purchase them from, because you could run the risk of significant heat exposure and things re-fermenting in a bottle if they didn't, you know, so you would have to really take it on a case-by-case basis, and you'd want to try to work with, I mean, at that point, email me. I could tell you what your closest, if it's not in the state that you're at, what would be a closer retailer, and you would need to be very, very careful in terms of getting these, because like I said, this is where we also wanted to be very cautious about shipping these, because if these would get exposed to heat, you wouldn't be getting what we'd be getting today. You would probably be like, what on earth are we drinking? These things are bubbling and things are a little crazy. So we have to be a little careful on the online stuff for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Ευχαριστώ.
Παρακαλώ. Any other questions for us? Okay, Alexandra, you will find all of our information. This is from Alexandra Devaris. You're going to get all of our information as a recap on, right, Alexandra? From the
Everything's going to be
on the website.
I've posted it up on the chat. It's Hellenic-American.cc.
And then in our bios, you'll find all of our contact info, like Michael.
And there are clickable logos, so anything that you need or the wines, they're all clickable on the website. They should be all up tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to come in real quick and just tell everybody this was such a fascinating journey. We went from ancient days to modern times, wonderful transition. Again, you know, very big thank you to Andrea. She does a great job. And Michael, I think the two of you should have a podcast. But again, thank you to the Cycladic Art Museum in Athens. I think Metaxia is still there. And to our winemakers, Oenopos and Anatolikos. You know, I have to say, when we started this journey and you know, with Asirtiko and the islands, and we ended up here, Andrea really made a very good point, which was you can have great wines in Greece and not pay that much. And that's a lesson that, you know, I think really came across quite well, because many wines have become so expensive over the last few years. And I think Greece offers some of the best wines and also at a great price. And, you know, and that's important. And it's people usually associate good wine with, you know, expensive pricing, and that's not the case when it comes to Greek wines. And, you know, and that's a very positive thing. And I think Andrea did a great job exposing that to all of us. So thank you, Andrea. And just so everybody knows, this isn't going to be our last wine event. It was just the fourth part of this wine series, and it was a special one because it ended with the museum, and it gave us really a great balance between the past and the present. And, you know, again, I thank everybody for participating, and mostly I want to thank everybody that joins us on these events. And I hope you walk away having learned something. I certainly do. And I realize how little I know about wine every time I listen to Michael and Andrea. So guys, I'll say thank you again.
Remember, Marcos, you were like, "Oh, I know everything," and I told you.
I didn't say everything.
Bite your words.
No, Andrea, you're fantastic, and you know, can't thank you enough. And you've really introduced us to some great winemakers in Greece. And you know, if people came on to the first one, you'll notice that this last event we drank fewer wines than we drank in the past. I think intentionally, maybe, but getting to see a lot of the vineyards was really a great experience. You know, early on, we actually walked some of the vineyards early on, which was really nice. So I don't know what we're going to plan next. We'll certainly sit down and have a meeting and discuss it. But again, thank you, everyone. And, you know, especially to the audience out there, you know, you make it very special for us.
With that, should we say good night to everybody? Metaxia, get home safely if you're not home already.
And the
Metaxia may have to sleep at the museum. He's already past curfew.
That's a good idea.
Let's hope we don't have any issues getting her home.
Listening for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you all. We hope to see you during the summer here.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
And we'll see each other soon, hopefully in person and not just virtually.
Yep.
We hope so. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Well,
Take
everyone.
care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care. See you soon. Oop, there we go. All righty, we finished the presentation. We'll say good night.